Hello and welcome to Sideways. This week we're talking about the difficulty of deciding what to do and making good choices. We mourn the demise of early closing. Martin gets some feedback and we try and work out why we say yes when we really mean no. Also, if you want to listen to someone who has a lot to say about why choice makes us miserable, go and look at the TED Talk by Barry Schwartz called The Paradox of Choice. How to make decisions. Come on, Dace, this way. Can you get that T-shirt in red?
It's quite vivid, isn't it?
It is vivid. Puts the Viv in vivid. Puts the Viv Watkins in vivid.
Yeah. Can you leave that in?
Probably, yeah. So, you all right?
I'm very good, mate. Yeah. How about you?
I'm all right, yeah. Have you been watching The 100?
No.
Why not? You're supposed to like cricket.
I do like cricket, but I'm not. Well, I did. I've watched a little bit of it. I haven't really got into it yet, I must admit. I'm not sure I like these modern derivations of the beautiful game.
It's interesting. It's interesting that you say that because that's exactly what I was thinking when I asked you on WhatsApp yesterday. Are you watching The 100? When I was in the midst of enjoying a thrilling finale between, I can't remember who it was between someone.
Exactly.
And you said no, you didn't. I thought to myself, oh, you won't be watching this because you're too much of a traditionalist. And it got me to thinking about other things that have been kind of modernised and how you feel about them. So I just thought I'd ask you a couple. Tell me what you feel about these things.
Oh, right, okay, yeah, sure.
How do you feel about... Now, I won't reveal how I feel about these things until you told me. How do you feel about people having Yorkshire puddings with things other than roast beef?
I'm all right with that.
Totally wrong. Absolutely scandalous. How can you have a roast? You can't. Some people have Yorkshire puddings with their Christmas dinner. What's that all about?
Yeah, I mean most people do, I think, don't they?
That's not right. It's not as it should be.
Right, okay.
It's not how I don't think that's what the Lord intended on his birthday.
I think they're a flexible enough part of the meal to transcend different styles of meal. I think you're just being a bit negative, really.
No, right. Here's the second one: the proliferation of coloured football boots.
No.
Yeah, we prefer a black boot, don't we?
Black boot, yeah. I was a bit concerned back in the 70s, I think it was, when Alan Ball suddenly started wearing a pair of white boots. And I thought, no, that's not right. No, if you see a player wearing black boots, and you think, oh, good on you, mate. That's good.
So that's the thing that now looks fancy, wearing a black boot. See, it's gone so far the other way that wearing something traditional now looks as if it's out of the ordinary. I always thought it was fancy enough when they started putting coloured stripes on a boot. I remember I had a pair of Patrick boots that had green stripes on the back of them.
Yeah, I had a pair of Puma Kings with yellow stripes on, that's for sure. But nice. No, it's you see players wearing two different colour boots as well. I find that really odd.
Yeah, well, they've just lost one, haven't they? That's what's happened there. Or they've stolen them from one of those racks outside a shoe shop.
Yeah, because they can't really afford a proper boot, can they, the professional footballers these days?
And here's my final one. Shops no longer closing on Sundays and Wednesday afternoons.
I used to quite like that.
Yes,
I did used to quite like that. It used to be the Wednesday afternoon in Maidstone used to be an absolute ghost town.
Yeah.
And Sundays too. And I don't see it's not from any religious aspect. I just felt that it was quite nice to have a break from that. And I'm sure the shop workers used to enjoy that as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. It was nice. It was like a little bit of punctuation in your week, wasn't it?
It was. I mean, the way people will rush out and panic buy because we're going to be closed for one day. We were used to that back in the 70s and 80s, weren't we? Because they were always closed. So there's never an issue. You were always prepared.
Exactly, which is one of the reasons why you couldn't have Yorkshire puddings with every flipping Sunday roast, because you didn't necessarily have the ingredients and all the shops were shut.
No,
I suppose most people would have eggs and flour, wouldn't they?
They do. I've known people who've had Yorkshire pudding sandwiches, so it can.
I'm kind of okay with that. It's the proliferation of Yorkshire puddings willy nilly with a roast dinner other than roast beef. It's not right.
I can see it's something. You're getting quite heated, to be honest.
But before I finish on this, when I was thinking about that shops closing or not closing on Wednesday afternoons, it reminded me, and I can't remember what was the name of the shop that was round the corner that then it closed down and it was made into, I can't remember what the old lady's name was that owned it, but they made it into their front room and Yen went in there trying to buy yogurt one day. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I did. I think it was called Swans, wasn't it?
Was that Swans?
Was it Swans? I can't remember, but yeah, it was. It converted back to residential, and he steamed straight in, and the front door was unlocked, and a couple of old ladies having a cup of tea. He didn't realise the shop had closed down, But there we go.
Anyway,
he was more embarrassed.
Good. Well, there you go. So anyway. I don't suppose that's what you wanted to talk about today, was it? Really?
No. Well. I think on that occasion, made a bit of a bad decision.
It's very good. That's a kind of clunky segue again, but a segue nevertheless.
It's very clunky. Well, I've got the title of my notes is Decisions, which is a phrase people often use, isn't it?
When they're trying to work out what to do, you mean?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. I mean, you sent me this idea quite recently about the idea of doing an episode on the difficulty of making decisions. And I could make the sort of the obvious joke there, couldn't I? About I couldn't decide whether it was the right episode to do or not. But
it wouldn't be a good idea, would it? Because it wouldn't be funny.
It wouldn't be funny. But it is a relevant topic. It's a relevant topic for all of us, isn't it?
It is. I can't remember what prompted it, mind.
No, well, when I thought about it, I'd made so many bad ones in active addiction. It's a good one. So I've done a little bit of research and stuff on it. And
obviously, you've got some quotes, haven't you?
I have got some quotes, but I'm hoping to lean quite heavily upon you on this one because I think it's bang in your field.
Okay, yeah.
But before we start, actually, you've almost done it before we start with that Yorkshire pudding nonsense. But this is going to be a very long episode, and there's going to be very little substance to it apart from these features. But before we start, I've had a bit of feedback from last week's episode on laughter.
Yeah.
In fact, I've had 3 separate ones, which is quite nice. It's always nice to get a bit of feedback from people. So I just wanted to mention them if I could, just to clear a couple of points up.
I just want to point out, though, before you do, that I never get any feedback. Why doesn't anybody ever give me any feedback?
Because you're not in touch with the listener. There's probably only one. You're not in touch with their fan base.
Okay, go on, far away.
The first one, someone reminded me of that episode of The Office where Ricky Gervais's character David Brent had been hired to do some motivational talking and motivational speaking outside of his normal work environment, and he'd gone along to one of which was obviously turned out to be an absolute disaster. And at the end of this motivational speech he was giving, he tried to get everyone to laugh because he was saying exactly what he was saying. It's good for your soul and it releases endorphins. And he was at the front of the stage there trying to get everyone to laugh, and no one was in the mood. It had been a terrible speech, and no one was in the mood. And the person was making the point that you can't force laughter upon people. You've got to be in the right frame of mind to accept it and to use it properly, which I thought was quite a valid point. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely right. In fact, being someone kind of being put under duress to laugh when you don't feel like laughing is likely to have the absolute opposite effect, isn't it?
Yes.
And the most powerful and therapeutically valuable laughter is the laughter that comes out of nowhere, I think.
You're right. Yeah, we're at least expecting it.
That's why people falling over so funny.
Yeah. Well, it is. Yeah, exactly right. Because you certainly aren't expecting that. It's outside the normal realms of happenings. But I thought that's quite good. But the second point, a different person contacted me and said that they have suffered sometimes where they get this overwhelming desire to laugh at funerals.
Yeah.
Which I think is, I can sort of get that because it's almost like a release of tension, isn't it, at that point?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's actually very common.
Is it?
Yeah, it's very, very common for people to feel like they need to laugh in inappropriate situations, and it is for that kind of for that reason that you're describing there. It's one. It's a way of breaking tension, and it's all. You often find, I don't know who this person was, obviously, but you often find that people who struggle like that, people who struggle with anxiety.
Yeah, right. Okay.
So, if you think about the solemnity at a funeral, there's an emotional heft, a weight to that, and people who struggle with anxiety can't cope with that. It's like, it's too much. I need to. I suppose it's almost like a sort of bit of an emotional Tourette's to do something that's completely inappropriate.
Yeah, that's the thing, because I have had that. I know what that feels like. It was almost like, it's wrong, but the more you think about it, and the more you try not to do it, the harder it is to not laugh. And
you just described anxiety, because
exactly,
because when you feel anxious, what you tend to do is you tend to say to yourself, I mustn't feel anxious. And the more you tell yourself you mustn't feel anxious, the more anxious you feel. So in the same way, if you feel like you want to laugh at a funeral and you keep saying, I can't, it'd be terrible. The more you push that down, the more you feel like you want to laugh. In fact, in any situation where you kind of try and stop yourself laughing, it tends to add extra zest to your laughter, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
Have you ever if you've ever been to a show or seen a comedian or something, sometimes they'll get you and you'll be laughing so much your sides really hurt and you can't breathe. Yeah. And you feel like saying, just stop for a minute. I can't do this anymore. And the more you kind of want them to stop, the more likely it is the very next thing they say is going to make you laugh even harder. So it's all kind of part of the same syndrome.
Oh, cool. Well, the third point, which was a bit of feedback I had about 10 minutes ago, actually, before we started this recording, and that was from my daughter, Lizzie.
Yeah.
What she was saying was that she was interested when you mentioned Maslow's hierarchy of needs, because she had said that they did a lot about that when she was doing her teacher training. So she bought into that. So she did say that was good.
That's good then. So I've done something that's useful in all of these 85 odd episodes that we've done.
It's one of those rare moments, mate.
It's the first piece of positive feedback I've had.
That's not bad. It's taken us nearly 2 years to get there, but you keep going.
Yeah, you've got to keep trying, haven't you?
You have.
Thanks, Lizzie. It's nice to be appreciated by somebody.
Well, hopefully she'll be listening to this. She'll be listening to this next week. She was in the car listening to it this morning. Yes. Anyway, yes, decisions. I mean, the most important decisions you make in life. I mean, when looking back, there's some quite pivotal moments when you can either make the right or the wrong decision. And for me, certainly in line with what we talk about, one of the most important ones was accepting that, or making the decision that yes, I've got an issue with alcohol. I've got addiction problems, and on top of that was the bigger decision. Really, was to accept the help that was available to start to try and get things sorted out. And that was a really difficult decision to make, obviously, because it was influenced by like the condition that I suffer with. But why is it so hard for us to make decisions sometimes, or often, the bigger decisions?
If you could just think about that example, because actually, in a way, that's a really good example. So, the decision to accept that you had a problem with alcohol, in a way, is a kind of different sort of thing, isn't it? It's like that's more of an acceptance. It's I'm no longer in denial. This is a problem. Okay, so that's an acceptance. Your decision was really about, what am I going to do about it? What shall I do about it? And the decision that you're kind of then agonizing over is, shall I accept some of this help that is on offer, or shall I just kind of carry on? So if you ask yourself, in answer to that question, why are decisions so difficult? I think this kind of encapsulates one of the reasons why decisions are difficult. What was the downside at that point, before you made the decision to go into recovery? What did you feel the potential downside was of going into recovery?
The loss of my best friend, effectively.
Right.
We've talked about it in groups where you go into bereavement, really, when you give it up. It's it's everything. It's your top priority. It consumes absolutely everything in your life. So to not have that in your life. My God, what a big hole you're leaving behind. So, yeah, I didn't know what I was going to become, how I was going to behave. I had no reason to think that I had any chance of giving it up.
Right, so there's kind of several things in that. The first one is you're worried about... So when you make a choice, if you choose B, it means you're not taking A.
Yeah.
So every time on that basis, every time you make a choice, you're going to lose something. You're going to lose the thing you didn't choose.
Okay.
So, I mean, obviously, in some situations, there's more jeopardy in that than others. If you decide to have the cream horn rather than the Chelsea bun, okay, but you might later regret not having the Chelsea bun. But here you're making a decision based on, yes, okay, I can see what I might gain over here, but I'm very, very worried about what I'm losing. So there's always some sort of emotional weight related to the thing that we're not choosing when we make a choice. So that's one of the things that makes choice difficult. The second thing is, and I think this also would apply to that decision you made, there's a worry about, what if I'm wrong? What if I'm doing the wrong thing? Now, I know, for anybody looking and saying, well, hang on, if you're in addiction and you're trying to choose between going into recovery or not, you can't possibly be wrong, but you don't know that at the time, do you?
No, you don't. No, you don't.
You're particularly when you think about the statistical likelihood of you sustaining recovery. A lot of people looking at that would say, well, I might as well just keep drinking because odds are I'm not going to make it anyway.
There's definite fear of failure. I think, well, it's no point in me trying because I'm not going to get there. I'm not. It's too hard.
There's the third one. That's the third one.
Oh, is it right? Okay.
So the first, well, probably others, but they're the three that spring to my mind. The first one is when you make a choice, you're not choosing something, so there's potentially loss. The second one is, what if I make the wrong choice? That's one of the things that paralyzes us and stops us making decisions. And the third one is the one that you just mentioned there. What if I fail? And that one is enough to paralyze people because the thought of not succeeding is, often the thing that makes us not move in the first place, because at least then you can't fail, can you?
No, you can't. I know that the thought of going into recovery, or the decision that the time is right to go into recovery. I mean, most addicts will tell you they're almost waiting for that first relapse to happen. You're almost going in with a mindset. This is going to be too hard. I am definitely going to relapse. It's just a matter of time. And it's very tricky to have, because your mind is so messed up anyway. You're not making great decisions. You've had a history behind you of making terrible ones, and it's difficult to think this one's going to be any different. So I suppose you've built up a bit of an experience of doing bad things or making bad decisions. But then again, at that point, you're probably identifying those bad decisions you've made in the past and think that's everything. You don't look at the good decisions you've made.
No, you certainly wouldn't. I mean, you don't really trust yourself at that point, do you?
No, you don't, not at all.
So if you consider yourself as someone that you don't really trust, you don't feel as if your safety is, don't feel as if you're safe in your own hands, then that again would suggest you're probably not best equipped to make that decision, are you?
No, you're not.
You're having to take responsibility for yourself. And, we've spoken lots of times about how that's what recovery is. You only go into recovery when you take responsibility for yourself, because nobody else will ever get you into recovery. And even if they manage to get you into recovery, nobody else will ever sustain it. Only you can. So that ability to be able to take responsibility for yourself and therefore be responsible for all the decisions you make in your life is massive. It's a massive step.
It is a massive step, but I mean, outside of addiction, I'm not talking about the small little decisions you make, like what coat to wear, depending on what the weather is, or what TV program to watch. There is too much choice on that now, but that's you don't have to sweat the small stuff on that, do you?
Oh.
I'm talking about it's the big decisions that everyone has to make, like what career path to follow, for example, or when you're looking at the decision-making process. And I remember you going through it when you're looking to buy another house, to move. And do you remember the angst you were going through last time and you did exactly that? I remember there's lots of different options.
Yeah.
And it's a long process, isn't it? And you go through, I mean, do we perhaps, when we're making these big decisions, not take too long or look into it too deeply, or can we, is that the right thing to do? Because the research I've done shows that you should look into these things very deeply. But do we overthink these matters?
Yeah, it's fine to, if you're buying a house or doing something like that, you're making a kind of significant shift in your life or changing career or whatever. I think yes, of course, it makes sense to think about them deeply. But with any decision, there's always a point at which you're overthinking it. And the reason I think we overthink is that we're looking for a level of clarity and certainty that doesn't exist. So one of the things that stops us making decisions is we keep turning it around. I mean, everybody will be familiar with this. You're trying to make a decision. You keep turning it around in your mind and you keep looking at it from different angles, thinking, well, what if this? What if that? What if something else? And it feels like you're going round and round in circles all the time. And the only reason you're doing it is because you're waiting for this light bulb moment where suddenly you're able to say to yourself, oh, of course, that's the answer. If I do this, everything in the future is definitely going to be okay. And you can't get there. And that's why we overthink. So, yes, do the necessary research, of course, because you don't want to be kind of flying blind with some decisions that you make. But you have to accept that at some point you're going to have to make a choice and live with the consequence. And I think one of the other things that makes decisions hard is that we fear that, well, two things. One, if we make a choice and it turns out that it goes a bit wonky, that we won't cope. So that's one of the myths that we tell ourselves. Oh, if this goes wrong, I'll never survive it. Well, you will. And the second thing is that we worry that if we make a bad choice, there'll be no other option. If you do make a bad choice in your life, quite often you might not be able to go back to where you chose from, but you can make another detour. You can, make a different choice and then make another one after that and find yourself ultimately back in a position that feels more comfortable. I think we worry that certainly with bigger decisions, we'll do something and that'll be the end of us if it's wrong. So we tell ourselves there's more riding on the things that we decide than actually there is.
I do relate to a lot of what you said there, and to throw in a quotation at this point, which you do love me to do.
Love a quotation
from Theodore Roosevelt.
I've heard of him.
Have you heard of him?
Mm.
Yeah. Remember him? He's one of the presidents. Do you know what number he was? What number president he was?
No.
I'll give you an idea. We've had, I think the USA, they've had about, is he 45, the current one, Biden? Is he the 45th?
All right, I'll say he was 36.
26th. I'll put you out your misery.
That's what I meant.
You made the wrong decision, didn't you? It was either 26 or 36, and you made the wrong decision.
Yeah, and now there's another illustration of why people don't make decisions. Sometimes people don't want to make decisions because they don't want to appear foolish.
Okay.
Whereas I don't mind appearing foolish because I've made a lifetime's work of it.
Perfectly illustrated in that case, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. It's probably why I get on with you.
Yeah. Your decisions to do these podcasts all those months or years ago now, was, we're still here.
Yeah, much to a lot of people's chagrin.
Anyway, Teddy Roosevelt, I'm going to call him TR, the great TR.
What he said was familiar, isn't it?
It is really, isn't it? Yeah. Anyway, he's not around, is he? He's not around for any feedback from the lad.
No.
The lad Teddy, the Roosie boy. He said, in any moment of decision, the best thing you can do is the right thing. The worst thing you can do is to do nothing, which is coming to that point of it is, because I think we all feel that once we've made a decision, there's a sense of relief, isn't there? Even but even if we go back to the house buying example, it's nearly always compromises to be had when you're buying a house, and so that light bulb moment doesn't come when everything falls perfectly into place. And I think, which is what you were saying, there are compromises, but you make that decision, and then as long as you make it and stick with it, and then deal with the consequences, things are going to be okay, aren't they?
Yeah. Old Roosie's quote there, if that's not over familiar with an American president. it kind of hints at something else there about the anxiety of making decisions, and in fact you said something there about when you make a decision you feel better, and that's true, because when you feel anxious about a decision, as again everybody will be familiar with, whether they've had problems with addiction or not, when you feel anxious about it, the only way to get rid of that anxiety is to make a choice and stand behind it. And when you do make a choice and you stand behind that choice, that anxiety will disappear immediately. Now, you might get a different anxiety about the next choice you've got to make or something else. But one of the things that I see so often is people really caught in this terrible web of anxiety because they've got something they're trying to decide around, and they don't make a choice, and they don't make a choice, and they don't make a choice, and this anxiety just becomes perpetual. Whereas if they just said, okay, I'm going to do this, it's frightening or it's scary, I don't know what's going to happen on the other side of this. But, that's the thing that will, in some respects, soothe that anxiety, make it go away. Yeah,
it does. But I think it's important what you said earlier on about most decisions we make are not ultimate. They're not final. You can make a counter decision to further on down the line to put a bit of a touch on the tiller, as it were, to put you back in the correct line. So it's not the end of the world, is it? But I think we do worry. Certainly, I've always had this issue of overthinking all possible consequences, and the anxiety that causes can be crippling. So it is nice when you do finally make a decision. Good, I'm glad I've done that. It's a bit like, do you know, you've ever got that position, you may have been in it yourself, where perhaps you have two conflicting things in the diary. You've put something in the diary, and then something else comes along on the same date at the same time. You think, oh my God, I really prefer to go to this second choice, but I've already sort of committed to the first one, and you get that terrible turmoil. And what I always say now is I always stick with that first choice I made. I never go for that second choice. And that's made that easier. My decision making has been made easier for that. For example, when I get invited round to someone's at Christmas, like Christmas Day, where I've been round to yours or I've been round to someone else's, whatever, the first person that comes along and says to me, do you want to join me for Christmas dinner or whatever? I say yes, and that's it. The decision's made. Anyone else that comes along, I say I'm already committed. But in the past, I'll perhaps wait to see which the best offer was, or the one that I quite fancied most, and went with that one.
Yeah, that means that there's probably been times when you've come around here to have Christmas dinner, and actually subsequently to me asking you've had better offers, but you've had to turn them down on the basis of your own the rules that you've made for yourself.
Do you see that? I slid that in there to just slide that past you gently.
That was almost passive aggressive. Hang on, that made me think about something though. I don't want to lose it because it was important. Yeah, I know what it was. It reminded me of something else about anxiety, which is people who struggle with anxiety always do this, right? They will, when someone asks them, actually it reminds me of two things about decision making. When someone says to them, do you want to go to so-and-so? People who struggle with anxiety almost inevitably say yes, because they don't want to upset anyone. So, if you struggle with anxiety or you've got low self-esteem, your tendency will be to say yes because you don't want to make anybody unhappy with you. And you'll say yes to things that you really don't want to go to. So, someone will say, do you want to go to see some pro wrestling with me? And you'll be like, yeah, great. That sounds really good. Oh, do you want to go to a wine tasting and you're a recovering alcoholic? And so you say, yeah, that sounds really good. Sounds really good. And as the day approaches, you get more and more anxious. And then when it actually comes to it, you bail out. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not very well, or I've fallen over the cat or something. And you've suffered all of that time when actually it would have been much easier, although it would have caused you anxiety in the moment, to have said, no, that's not my thing. So we'll all be faced with situations like that. Certainly if we, struggle with anxiety or you struggle with low self-worth, it's always much better to ask yourself a question when you're invited to something. Ask yourself a question: do I actually want to do this? Do I really want to do this? And if the answer is no, I don't really want to do it, it's much better just to front it up. Hold your nose and say, thanks for inviting me, but I don't fancy it, because it saves a lot of anxiety.
It does, and I think that that sort of comes with with experience of doing that, doesn't it? Once you've used that method and it's worked, you think, I'll try and do that in the future. But again, circumstances can change. But There was a quote from Mark Twain, which I quite liked, which is, I was going to put this right at the end, but I think we're coming towards the end of what I wanted to talk about anyway. But he said, good decisions come from experience, and experience comes from making bad decisions. So going back to what we're talking about, the decision-making process, we do make bad decisions sometimes. It can be undone. I think that it does give us the experience to formulate proper decision-making processes in the future.
It does, and one of the other things that Twainy is pointing out there, if I can call him that, it's not too familiar with a famous author, is the importance of making decisions and messing stuff up, because that's how we learn about things. Don't be afraid to mess things up. Pretty much everything that you mess up in some way, shape or form is retrievable. It might not, again, look like it did, but, you'll be able to row it back in some way. So if you're nearing the end of your notes, I just should point out one other thing that I think impacts our decision-making, and that is, I touched on it a moment ago, that is the way that we value ourselves. Quite often, we don't make decisions because we feel like we're not worthy of making a choice. Quite often, I work with people who struggle with their self-worth. And if I'll say to them, if your partner asks you, what do you want to have for dinner, or what do you want to go and see at the cinema, I bet you're the sort of person that will say, I don't mind, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
And if you're that sort of person, if you can hear yourself in that, you need to stop that. Right, you need to stop that. It's much better for you to make a choice. There are two reasons it's important to make a choice. One, because you'll feel better about yourself because you're asserting your own needs. And that's, it's always good to take up a bit of space in the world rather than always, concede the space to everybody else. But secondly, a lot of the times, the reason that people don't make choices, they don't really know themselves very well. And the reason they don't know themselves very well is because they don't spend the time thinking about what they want and then voicing it. So, if people ask you what you want, if another adult says, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go? What do you want to eat? Make a choice. Don't be don't be lily-livered. Grow up, for fuck's sake.
I was just thinking, it seems very, it's quite a strong approach to take, especially if you're trying to approach taking a girl out for the first time or a second date or something. You say, and you're trying to decide where to go. You like to give them the option. Okay. So that you can follow along then, and it seems a much more cosy way of doing things.
Great idea. Okay, so good. So I can't believe I'm giving you dating advice. But if you're taking a young lady out, well, it wouldn't be a young lady in your case, but if you're taking an elderly lady out for dinner and you say, where would you like to go? And she says, I really don't mind, it's up to you. Then make the choice. I'm not suggesting you say, I'm taking you out tonight, I've decided where we're going to go. I'm talking about when you're offered, when the choice is offered to you, try and hear yourself making choices once in a while, because if you never make choices, as I say, it means you're kind of not taking up your allotted space in the world, and that isn't good for our sense of ourselves. And I bet there are a lot of people in recovery who do that. I bet there are.
Oh, undoubtedly. Yeah. Most of us, probably.
Yeah.
Most of us. But the decision which you can't go back on, which you can't be changed, is like what football team you support. Because once you've nailed your flag to that particular mast, you're that's it, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's a shame, isn't it? It's John White's fault. Because I live next to John White, and John's older than me, as you know, and he was a West Ham fan, and I used to go around there occasionally and play Subbuteo with him, and he was a West Ham fan. I thought, that's it. That's obviously the team for me. So John, if you're listening, you put me through a lifetime of misery.
I'll tag him.
Yeah, too.
When we put it on Facebook to say that you've caused poor. No wonder Graham's have gone through this life with these having trouble making decisions.
Yeah, it's true. Why did you bring up football teams anyway?
I don't know.
You can't go a week without talking about football, can you?
No, not really. But I remember there was a kiddie at school. It's a bit like the football team. You're born in England, so you support England. Not much of a choice there, but he supported Brazil, even though he had no connection to Brazil. He just went for the winner. He went for the best team he could find.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, fair play to him. I don't know. I mean, Ian, I've often thought to myself, I'd like to support someone else, but you just can't feel it, can you?
No, you can't. No. Once you're in, you're in, aren't you? It's a weird thing because you do come across people very occasionally that suddenly change teams, and they're looked upon with absolute.
I don't think you can do that. Yeah, I don't think you don't. I think you don't really settle on an interest in football if you do that, do you? I can remember I had a fondness for Stoke City when I was very young, and then my dad went away working somewhere and brought me home a Norwich City football. But I mean, really, it was a bit of a Hobson's choice, wasn't it? Stoke City, Norwich City, West Ham. I mean, crikey.
Yeah,
it's certainly not choosing between a cream horn and a Chelsea bun. I can tell you that.
No, well, there we go. I mean, I was, the last thing you'd be grateful if you chose the right team to begin with, wouldn't you?
Dear, oh dear, that's one of the poorest ones. Now, this is going to impress you. Because you always tease me about never thinking about anything from a gratitude list and piggybacking off what you say and then choosing cheese if I can't think of anything. The other day, I wrote a long list of things I'm grateful for. So I want you to choose a number, and I'm going to. That's going to be this week's.
Okay, 17.
Right. So actually, I've got. Now I'm looking at that. I'm not sure I haven't had this already. Have I had bed before?
Oh, I don't know. I don't
think I have. I don't think I have had bed. If anybody's an aficionado of these podcasts, then firstly you need to get out a bit more, and secondly, I'm getting on, so I can't. Anyway, bed. I absolutely love my bed. When I get into my bed and feel the comfort of just kind of pulling the covers up and shutting my eyes, that is a moment of true gratitude. And if there are fresh sheets on the bed, so much the better. But this week, I'm grateful for my bed. It does a great service to me, both emotionally and physically.
Okay. No, I think it's strange because bed, I remember it was a form of punishment when we were younger. You used to get thrashed and sent to bed if you misbehaved.
Did you get thrashed?
Yeah, you used to get thrashed from time to time.
Did you? I don't think I ever got thrashed.
When I say thrashed, it was a clip around the ear more than anything, and it wasn't an all-out belt off or good thrashing.
Hit with a bottle. Like Stephen Trower on my sister's doorstep.
Being sent to bed was a punishment because you had to go up and stay in bed for a few hours. That was your punishment. But as you get older, you think, oh yeah, it's great. It does become a much more integral part of your happiness.
Yeah,
for all sorts of reasons. But I think that on my gratitude list this week, I've got. Well, it's slightly bittersweet, really, because I'm grateful when people come back to groups I haven't seen for a long time. And I mentioned that because we've had a couple recently in the last few days, people I hadn't seen for about 6 years, and he's come back, and it's always great to see them again. But they're often the reason they're coming back is because something as problematic has cropped up, and they've gone back on the drink or the drugs. So it's bittersweet. But I'm grateful that they choose to come back and try and get it sorted out again.
Yeah, so actually, I can see that. I can see why that's bittersweet. But I think it's more sweet than bitter, isn't it? Because what you're dealing with there are, firstly, the realities of life. Sometimes some things happen and it doesn't turn out the way we want it to. And then you make a decision to try and get back on on an even keel. So it's actually on the whole, bad things do happen, and it's often the way that we respond to them, isn't it?
It is, yeah. But they've made the decision to come back, so I'm pleased with that. It works in nicely with my notes heading this week.
Yeah, well, I know how you like things to be ordered and tidy.
I do. I like it to be wrapped up nicely. So what wraps it up nicely now is just to go through my Spotify search with you.
Yeah, I can't think of any songs with the word decision in them.
No. Well, the first one I came across was Bad Decisions by Bastille, but I couldn't have Bastille again because they were on last week. So I sort of dismissed that. Yeah,
because you start to sound like a bit of a fanboy, and quite frankly, you're a bit too old to be a fanboy for Bastille.
Exactly, yeah. Tentative Decisions by Talking Heads, which was one of their older ones. Not particularly good, but it is a track that I found. There's one called Sounds of Decisions by Smelly Kid Chandler, which I quite like.
Smelly Kid Chandler, yeah. Well, the name's good, but I'm pretty certain I wouldn't like the song.
He's not really, but I'm going to put the one that I'm going to put on the onto the Spotify the Sideways podcast Spotify list this week is Choices and Decisions by the Welsh heavy metal band Skindred.
Skindred?
Skindred.
Skindred Spirit?
They're very good, actually. I mean, I've never really been. I know they do a lot of festivals and that sort of thing, but I haven't really listened to them a great deal. But I had the chance this week to, once I picked up on that, listen to a few of their tracks. Yeah, I'm liking them.
So you're a Skindred fan, are you?
Yes, I am. Yeah. Newly appointed.
So presumably, if anyone comes along proffering a denim jacket, you'll be happy to paint an album cover on the back, will you?
That's a Skindred one all day long. Yes, mate. Yeah. Edit something good out of that lot.
Well, I expect I'll be able to manage something. Yeah. You know, you pick up all the feedback and plaudits. I'll do the flipping donkey work. Don't worry.
I'm enjoying that. I'm enjoying that division of labour.
All right.
Laters.
Bye. Sideways was created by Graham Landy and Martin Pankhurst. If you want to read more about our work or sort through the extensive archive of past episodes, just visit grahamlandywellbeing.co.uk/sideways-podcast. You can follow us on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram at Sideways Podcast, and you can email us if you have a question or if there's something you'd like us to cover. But most of all, we want to tell you how grateful we are that you come and listen, and we ask that if you've enjoyed what you've heard, that you spread the word. And we'll see you next week.